her home.
The disappearance
That's
of
all I can
Miranda
say.
Velasquez
Just
has
get her
left
home
her
to
mother,
me.
Eileen Parkinson, in tears. Mrs. Parkinson and Martha Velasquez had lived together until last September. When the relationship broke up, Mr. Velasquez took their child Miranda with him. So Mrs. Parkinson went to court for custody and won. In 2 successive court cases, Mr. Velasquez fought for custody of Miranda, but each time the court ruled in favour of her mother. But Mr. Velasquez retained regular weekend visiting rights, and on Saturday the 23rd of February, he and the child left the house for an outing. Miranda has not been seen since.
Mrs. Parkinson, how do you feel not having your daughter here?
It's just dreadful. She's not here for me to give her a breakfast or to put her to bed of the night time or to wash her clothes or anything. She's just not here. Part of me is missing.
Police say Mr. Velasquez was sighted in Newcastle on March the 4th, but have no other leads. He was driving this customised white Ford Courier truck with flared mudguards and blue racing stripes.
Have you got any message for Mr. Velasquez?
Please bring her home where she belongs. Please bring Miranda home. That's all I can say. Just get her home to me.
The 12 baseballers selected from the Newcastle Baseball Association were hitting and fielding up a storm last night at the Halzad Fitness Centre. The players, aged between 16 and 19, will play 8 games in their month-long visit and will be billeted by American families. The coach, Mr. David Koch, says it will be a real learning experience for the boys, but how does he think his team will fare against the Americans?
We're not expecting to win all games, we're not expecting to lose all games. They will grade the games, hard, mediocre and hopefully some easy ones, so we shouldn't go too bad. We've got a pretty good pitching staff.
And what's the main aim of this tour?
Basically to teach the boys, to show the boys what is happening on the other side of the world in baseball. The management team, consisting of the 4 guys, Jeff Daly, myself, Ronnie Parks and Jeff Kerr, are going across to have a look at what the Americans do and how they do it. So it's basically to see what they're doing and to perhaps exchange a little culture with them too.
It hasn't been easy to find a home for the Newcastle Tramway Museum. It was initially hoped it could be housed at Wall's End. Then it was planned to store these historic times at the old Aboriginal site in Waratah. Now the enthusiasts who have spent hours restoring the carriages have come up with another idea that has received the approval in principle of the Lake Victoria City Council Committee. The proposal, which went to the committee meeting last night, is for a tourist tramway to be established between Cockle Creek Railway Station and Spears Point Park. Its anticipated revenue will come from fares, and it's hoped that if it gets the final OK from Council, it will become a major tourist attraction. The Council Committee recommends the tram enthusiast contact the Minister for Tourism, Mr. Mike Cleary, and apply for a grant to cover the $650,000 in costs.
TUIs have seen fit to put some money up, $60,000 in fact, to conduct a statewide inter-centre competition for 4 age groups or 4 groups to cater for our needs in indoor cricket. That is, we've got a men's comp, a women's competition, plus veterans and juniors, which covers the whole gambit. A lot of veterans now playing the game and gives them a chance to represent. That competition will be sponsored by TUIs and will be run over the whole of New South Wales in 8 zones. And TUIs have asked that the competition come to its conclusion, its finals weekends, when all the zone winners come together, be played here in Newcastle, and that'll be played in a couple of centres in Newcastle, and then brought to its grand final stage on the Sunday here at how's that?
What are we looking at in numbers of players in all levels of indoor cricket in New South Wales now?
We're approaching 100,000 players playing the game on a weekly basis, Lee, and that's increasing all the time. We've now got 80 registered indoor cricket centres in New South Wales, and it just seems to be on the increase.
The Pelican Bowling Club has been in trouble for the past 2 weeks after the board sacked 3 permanent bar staff over a rosters dispute. The matter has been before the Industrial Commission, which ordered the staff's reinstatement. The board has refused, the bar remains shut, and management are off to Sydney tomorrow to prepare to fight the matter in court. Now, on top of all that again, Pelican bowlers have been punished by the Australian Workers' Union for allegedly using scab labour to prepare one of their own greens.
No bowls being played on it. The club refused that offer. So it's obvious to me that they're just trying to break the whole industry.
That action, as AWU organiser Max Redding explains.
Non-union labour is coming onto the greens, preparing them. And if the greenkeepers were to accept this, it would be only a matter of time that there'd be no unionist involved and no qualified greenkeepers. They see it, the danger to their industry, and they're going to protect it.
Well, the Pelican Bowling Club members claim that they had to do it because their greenkeeper went on holidays and a pensioner, in fact, prepared that green. What was wrong with that?
Well, what's wrong with it is this, that there's a picket line there, and it is a correctly constituted picket line in accordance with ACTU policy, and our members are not crossing the line. Some 2 weeks ago, the picket people had indicated to the club that they would remove the picket line to allow the greenkeeper to come in and just prepare the greens, and providing there was no bowls being played on it. The club refused that offer. So it's obvious to me that they're just trying to break the whole industry.
So as far as your members are concerned, the Pelican Bowling Club members aren't going to bowl anywhere in the Newcastle area so long as this dispute remains unsettled.
That's correct. Yeah.
Professor Ian Clymer spent today preparing for his inaugural address to the university. He took up the chair of geology in January, after it had been vacant for more than 4 years. The 38-year-old Doctor of Geology has a long list of academic achievements.
Fluctuate in price
Broken Hill Mining
since
Company
1792, and we've got very accurate figures. The price of
Professor Clymer has a special interest in economic geology and throws new light on the price fluctuations of the American dollar and gold.
The price of gold is not a simple matter. It's fallen from a record high in 1979 to its current price of about $290, principally because the US dollar is stronger. A lot of people, I think, have got the cart before the horse. It's not that the price of gold has fallen. An ounce of gold is always an ounce of gold. What's happened is that these pieces of paper, which we put numbers on and call money, has become a little bit more valuable, has strengthened. The message is that gold historically fluctuates in price. Since 1792, when we've got very accurate figures, the price of gold has always had a constant purchasing power, and that if you buy gold, then you may never get rich, but you certainly will never end up poor.
And in extending this welcome, sir, may I say we're very appreciative of your government.
And the visiting facility was constructed. I think it is necessary to be able to Superintendent, my parliamentary colleagues, other distinguished...
and catered for a genuine need of prisoners to maintain contact with family and friends.
Processing area. Today marks the opening of a facility which is aimed at keeping the vital link between prisoners and family and friends. Visits between prisoners and their families are vital to keeping the family unit intact, and this facility being opened today seeks to achieve that.
Under the new system of visiting, people enter the prison through the visitors reception area. Lockers are provided for personal items to be left which cannot be taken to the new building. The prisoners in turn are screened at the rear of the visiting facility. The building will be christened this weekend. Visiting hours are from 8:15 to 3:30, both Saturdays and Sundays.
Liaison Officer for Newcastle's participation, Mr Bob Trowbridge, says Pacific region countries will contest a variety of sports in New Zealand's largest city, Manukau, in the North Island. The Mayor of Manukau City invited Newcastle earlier this year, and along with Orange in the state's central west, will be Australia's only representatives.
Through the Sports Council, we wrote to all the sporting organisations that are affiliated with the Sports Council to receive their support, and we've received support from 4 sporting codes. Rugby Union, the Newcastle Rugby Union is sending their first team over there. West Leagues Netball, CJ Netball, 10-pin bowling and the karate group will be going to New Zealand.
And of course the competition when they get over there will be international, but it's not competition as such.
No, it's not. There are no winners. They'll be playing people from each other countries, but in actual fact it's a social gathering.
His old-time dance band have decided to stay in Newcastle. According to Bill, there is plenty of work here, and his fans are very loyal. Bill says recording his first album is like a dream come true, but he says his reasons for cutting the record have a firm economic base. He believes old-time music is growing in popularity.
Well, I really do think there has been a resurgence in old-time music. I feel that the future is very bright indeed. I've always worked to this accord to try and bolster the image of old time, and in so doing I've written several songs about old time dancing.
Well, it's clear
the
that the roads on the Central Coast
dropped his bombshell about his decision on another low-level bridge for Swansea very quietly this week. It was incorporated in a Newcastle road strategy released earlier in the week, and the residents of Swansea say that Mr Brereton has not given them an opportunity to express their views on the new bridge. Last night, the executive of the Action Group for a high-level bridge over Swansea Channel met to discuss the Minister's decision, with the determination to keep up the fight. But what exactly can they do? Mr.
Well, we've got several options, but the first thing that will come out of it, we'll have another public meeting. It most likely will be held at the Swansea High School. That's where we hope to have it, and that will invite federal, state parliamentarians, Lake Macquarie Council, and anybody else, trades hall, anybody else that might be interested.
Now, the Minister has said that there's environmental reasons for why there can't be a high-level bridge. What do you say to that?
Well, we don't believe that at all, because we've had environmental advice to say that there are certainly no problems as far as the crossing of blackledges over the bridge. But the environmental issue really is in Swansea itself. The smoke and noise pollution that the people from Swansea are suffering is far greater than what they're experiencing in disturbing the, say, ecology of a few fish. Not that we don't want to preserve that ecology, but it's not as great as the people are suffering in Swansea itself.
In this afternoon's final, it was Lowlands champion Warwick Townsend up against East Cessnock Sand Club. Townsend came into the final having had great wins yesterday over top local bowlers Don Shoesmith and Kerry Webster. This morning, Townsend beat Rod Stewart. Plus, while a top performer in his own right, knew he was up against an opponent running extra strong. But it was tough to use that bit extra in the final and eventually ran out the winner 31-18.
Nestled in the mountains south of Singleton, Wallenby is one of the crossroads of our colonial history, and these days is a popular stop for Sydney travellers on their way to the Pecolban Vineyards. Many residents of the historic town are outraged by the proposed expansion of the Singleton Army Base, and they turned out in force for this afternoon's public meeting. Speakers told the meeting that in the proposal recommended to the Defence Department on Wednesday, the Pecolban State Forest and large tracts of Crown land to the north and west of the town would be used for artillery training. Spokesman Mr. Cole Harrison.
What we don't want is to start driving people mad in this valley by the extension of that 13,500 hectares to 70,000 hectares. Because this really does affect the lifestyle of a lot of people in this valley.
Resolutions passed by the meeting rejected the plan and called on the several members to represent the wishes of the Wallenby.
The State Minister for Roads, Laurie Brereton, made the announcement about the funds for Newcastle's road improvements last week, but the work is largely dependent on continuing the present level of federal funding. The main method of this funding, the Road Grants Act, expires in June, and the government is formulating a new system. This change to the funding system is causing concern among contractors, who say that capital road works may become a casualty of the federal government's continuing battle to reduce the deficit. The General Manager of G. Hawkins and Sons, Mr. Bruce Starr.
We are concerned that if they decide to look at, for example, cutting the road program, then this will have an adverse effect on jobs. The capital works program, it can be shown that for every $1 million spent, there is 50 jobs generated, either directly or indirectly. And so the road program can be justified on an economic basis.
The Federal Minister for Transport, Peter Morris, said his government is committed to the current National Roads program, but the state government,
federal government, state government and local government. We all have a role to play. I couldn't tell from Mr. Brereton's statement the composition of the $500 million. I assume that it includes something like about $230 million in the National Highway. Let me emphasise that the full cost of building and maintaining the National Highway is met by federal government. The state road authority simply act as design and construction agency. So in respect of the National Highway component, we would expect that to continue in terms of the Prime Minister's promise at the last election. We'd maintain the continuity of our road building program. As far as the state level of expenditure and local government level of expenditure, they're matters they're going to have to address themselves in their own budgetary situation.